Tomorrow marks International Men's Day, and when it comes to health, men aren't doing so great. 9 out of 10 people who die at work are men. Men live, on average, 6 years less than women and account for 3 times the number of suicides as women. So what is going on? Graeme Cowan is a mental health and resilience expert and co-founder of We Care 365. Graeme, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. You know these experiences firsthand. You've lived through it yourself. Can you tell us a bit about your own story?
Yeah, it was back in 2000 when I was really struggling. I was working in business. There was a big downturn in business. I was managing the business, and I basically just started to get, really, really bad insomnia, not sleeping well. And in a very, very short period of time, I lost my job, my marriage broke down, and I had to go and live with my parents. And I'd had episodes of depression before, but this time I was just 100% convinced that I wouldn't recover. And, I did try to take my own life. And this year our theme in 2023 is zero male suicides. And it's such an important message for all of us, men, women and children, to embrace.
Look, absolutely it is. And thank you for sharing your own story. And as you heard in that introduction, the statistics, they're quite frightening. So men live on average 6 years less than women and account for 3 times the number of suicides as women. What can this be attributed to, in your view?
Well, the interesting thing is that they are largely preventable. The top 3 reasons that men try to take their own lives is, number 1, relationship breakdown or marriage breakdown. Number 2 is separation from children. And number 3 is financial stress. So these are all problems that can be dealt with, but I think this silent epidemic hasn't been challenged. It hasn't been said, this isn't good enough. We need to throw some funds at this to understand some of the root causes and how we can build a network of support around some of these men that are really struggling.
I guess it's so important to have these conversations. We know the themes of manhood, masculinity, that stigma. Does that still exist? Is that still a barrier?
It is very much so. Men feel very reluctant to share their problems, very reluctant to say, I'm not coping well. And I get that. That was me, before I had my real crisis. I felt I should be able to sort it out myself. But what I've come to realise is that men can share their problems. And one of the things I really like to see men do is to establish strong relationships where there's good connection, relationships where you see each other in person regularly, but more importantly, where you can be vulnerable and talk about, what's freaking you out? What are you finding really, really stressful?
And how can men make that first step? Because for many, it's quite daunting.
I think one of the most important things is to think about your friends and what you enjoy doing. And one of the things that I do every week, which is a lovely ritual, is meet a couple of mates at Curl. We sort of do a walk to Manly and back, a bit of a jog, and then we have breakfast. And over the last 8 or 9 years we've been doing that, each of the 3 of us have been through, like a financial crisis or mental health crisis or career crisis. And just being able to talk about it halves the problem. They say a problem shared is a problem halved. And I think that particularly applies with men.
So a bit of fresh air and a bit of company does wonders. Now, you mentioned before the theme for 2023 is zero male suicides. Unfortunately, we know that has not been achieved. Do you ever envision that we'll get to that goal one day?
Well, that has to be the goal. We're losing 2,500 men per year in Australia to suicide. That's 40 to 50 per week, 8 per day. And there's a big display tomorrow in Canberra where there's going to be 2,500 shoes put on the lawn opposite Parliament House. And each of those shoes is from one man who has passed in the last year with their name or a photo on there. That makes it really real because every one of those men is a partner, a father, an uncle or whatever. And it's just not right that we don't have greater will to do something about this. We moved heaven and earth for COVID, to change things. And, in 2020, we lost 900 people to COVID. Now, that's horrible, but every year we're losing 2,500 men to this horrible situation.
It truly is horrible. And tomorrow, of course, marks International Men's Day. What's your hope for that day?
I hope it starts some discussions, talking about because it's an unspoken thing, suicide. People still don't feel comfortable doing that. But in the last 3 days, I've had 2 men tell me that they've lost their best friend to suicide, a male. And it's absolutely devastating. And they've gone on to say, well, what can I do? Can I raise money? Can I, what can I do to really make a difference? But the best thing we all can do is to, keep an eye on our mates. Ask how they are going. Ask, are they okay? Truly listen. And if there is issues, really encourage them to seek some help. Because, I was 110% convinced that I would never recover, but I now have a really good life, and that's the message that I'd like to share. And there's many, many other men out there that have, have made that attempt, but now have good lives. And when you're going through it, you feel like it's real, you feel like it's true, it's a fact that you won't recover. But we can, if we do the right things and have the right supporters around us.
Absolutely, very well said. And Graeme, you're doing wonderful work trying to help others as well. Thank you for sharing your story and thank you for coming on with us today. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank you.